him be okay. They paid a decent amount for this horse as a yearling. This horse is a half-to Supreme Aura, who's a decent, allowance, like $50,000 claiming
He won
type
the
of
Pegasus, right?
I believe he did.
He
Mike
did
Stidham.
win the Pegasus, yeah.
The dam's a half-to Abraham, who was a good horse for Todd Pletcher a number of years ago. So there's pedigree here. And the last workout, I believe, was in company with Hennig's debuter from yesterday, Orifice. That horse, I think, ran fourth and ran okay.
Ran well.
Yeah. So I just thought this one might be the one to take.
Yeah, I could not agree with you more. Jorge Vargas, we're going to see that name a lot. A good rider. Yep. He's going to climb aboard for this horse's debut. The problem is going to be, obviously, that we have an hour to post time, so that board's not going to stay the way it is. It's a guessing game. This first race is a guessing game, and do you really want to take a short price on the guessing game? You probably don't.
And it's worth mentioning, Vigilante's Way, the other firster that's likely to attract some support here for Shug McGahee and the Phipps stable, does have a gigantic pedigree because Salute the Dam is out of personal ensign, and she has produced Mr. Speaker, Fire Away, Snap Decision. It's more of a turf family.
Turf.
Yeah,
that's the problem there by Medaglia d'Oro, 6.5 furlongs. But listen, it wouldn't have to really be much on dirt.
No.
To handle this bunch. The horse that's taking the early money, Halo City, the only horse that, quite frankly, has any positive dirt experience. The only horse that's run on dirt is the 2, Roma Carpe, and got beat a combined 55 lengths in her 2 starts. Yeah. This horse ran for a tag first time out for Dave Duggan, comes back, gets Kendrick Carmouche in a rail draw.
As maiden claiming races go, I think that debut race was okay. The first 2 finishers are actually decent runners. They earned a respectable speed figure. She faded at the end. She could do okay here, but I thought one of the firsters would probably beat her.
Chad Summers is the first one on the outside that's taking some early money. Truth hurts. We'll see if the firsters can handle the runners. In race number 1, we kick off the card. Of course, we kick off the early pick 5. Race number 2, good old hard knocking 12-5 claimer is going to go 6 furlongs on the main track. We got a stat here for the horse that I wound up putting on top. You have him second. I have him on top. It's Bootlegger, and it's my man Rudy Rodriguez. Here's that stat, David.
Yeah, not great numbers either from a percentage standpoint or from an ROI standpoint with this move. I was actually a little bit surprised because I thought turf to dirt would be a good move for Rudy because the other way around is not a great move. Bootlegger has run on the dirt 3 times. And if he runs back to any of those races, he's just going to beat this field because the others are in questionable form and they just haven't really run speed figures that are at that level. The question with Bootlegger is when he transitioned to dirt last year, he was in much better form than he is now. His form is really kind of tailed off at the end of this year.
Yeah, he had to go to Monmouth and the Meadowlands to be competitive, really.
Yeah.
And that worries you. It's also, he's into his 5-year-old year, and he's a fresh gelding.
It's weird.
That's a little late. But obviously, Rudy's not one of these trainers that does it for no reason. So obviously, Rudy caught something finally that said, you know what, he's got to lose him. We'll see. I like you said, he's got that. So I hate to use the term, the parlance of our times, but he has that triple advantage. Those 3 figures they're going to beat these horses, and that's it.
Yeah, I've got no argument with that. Just at a short price, because I thought people would just land here because
they're going to.
The other options are just not that appealing. I wanted somebody else. I'm taking a shot with Javelin. I'm not going to sit here and defend this horse too strongly because his races recently just they're not what they once were. He was in better form last winter. I will say last time he was badly compromised at the start. He kind of got squeezed back between horses, was way too far back early. Going a distance, it's probably too far for him anyway. So he's a little better than that, hoping he can bounce back here on the cutback.
Yeah, he had some trouble. He doesn't want to go that far. You're right. I mean, he was the only horse I could see against Bootlegger. I know you made the 40 factor, shorter price.
Speed.
I mean, I guess he's got speed, but yeah, I mean, him and maybe a little 58 OG as the peripheral players in here, but it was hard for me to get past Bootlegger and Javelin.
I feel the same way.
All right, that's race 2. Kicks off the early pick 4 to the turf. We'll run this one on the old inner turf course. It'll be the last race of the year on the inner. The maidens will go 1 mile and a 16th. The 2 scratches are the main track only, so the field holds together. Field of 10. We landed on the same horse. This is a contentious race. On paper, you could probably make a case for 4 or 5 of them. Let's go to the replay machine. Sanctuary City is going to run against Open Company after finishing a good second in his state-bred debut.
Yeah, it's funny. We've got a couple of New York breds in this race that look pretty appealing coming in up to face Open Company here, I guess, to get those turf races in. He does close well at the end of this race, but I've got some problems with the speed figure for this race and also the way this race was run, because it did just completely fall apart at the end. And how much running was he really doing at the end, and how much was he just picking up pieces in a race where the speeds were just collapsing at the end of this race? And also, the speed figure, I think the winner, Turbo Drive, got an 81 buyer. That number just made no sense for his PPs, and he came back and ran 25 points worse when he faced winners the other day.
To that number.
Yeah, and you look at the other horses in the field, they came back on dirt. Some of them didn't run that well. I don't quite buy that number. It was a weird day where the turf course had taken some rain. They were walking home. And also, he's out of a dam that was really just a sprinter for John Hurtler a number of years ago. And I know he's by Temple City, but I don't really love the stretch out for this horse either.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of that. I put him third just because he was able to pick up some pieces late, and I would think that you'd like to, after watching the turf races yesterday, I would think you want to have, you'd want to be making the late run. You saw a couple of big late moves to get the money, one inside, one outside. We'll see. The other New York bred in here, that David, the aforementioned other New York bred, Valero, is on the far outside. He's going to have to deal with post 10 in here after scratches, and here he is first time out.
Yeah, he's the number one here. Just breaks about a length and a half, 2 lengths slowly. I just want to note that because he was at the back of the pack in this race. And it's not a race that necessarily fell apart like the other race we watched. I mean, horses weren't making big runs from the back of the pack. And if we can pick it up at the quarter pole, you're going to see this horse is actually really running through the stretch here. I think the 2 horses that finished ahead of him, Dante's Fire and Hellbender, they're actually okay New York breds. So this race was fine for me, and I don't think he's going to have a major problem making that transition to open company if he improves just a little bit.
And at the very least, as opposed to his fellow New York bred Sanctuary City, he's been the distance already. He's been the 2 turns, and he's been over the course. So at that distance. Those are the 2 state bred that Dave was talking about. We both landed with Miami for Danny Gargan coming out of the Structor race. It's funny, as we start to talk about the 3-year-old picture and everything, I think there's a good chance when I send in my ballot for the Eclipse Award, Structor's going to be my 2-year-old champion.
I've been going back and forth in which way. I think I've considered 4 different horses I could possibly vote for. I'm leaning towards Storm the Court right now, kind of reluctantly, because the others just haven't stepped up, but I could respect a vote for Structor, certainly. Miami is a horse that I kind of tabbed that I wanted to bet back out of his debut because that was a race that featured no pace at all. It was really hard to close. He was at the back of the pack early after kind of a slow break. I'm a little bit alarmed that I don't know if you remember, they've entered this horse a number of times.
I think he was in 3 different times.
Once was in a maiden claiming race, once was as an MTO in a maiden special weight race, and I mean, obviously both times he was scratched, and now he's running here back in a maiden special weight going a turf route, which I think is the right spot for him. I think he deserves another chance at a maiden special weight based on that debut effort. This horse only sold for $50,000. He's got a big pedigree. The dam side, it's kind of obscure, but the dam's a half-sister to King Kamehameha, who's one of the top sires in Japan. He's the grandsire of Amandai. So I think this horse might have some ability and can take a step forward here.
Yeah, Eric Cancel's been riding very well this week. He's won numerous races, doing a good job. He's going to climb board for the first time. Glen Country is the horse. You have him 4th. I have him 2nd. He gets the blinkers on for Jimmy Toner, who's always dangerous. Kendrick's going to stay aboard. This horse was behind Decorated Invader, who's had a pretty good 2-year-old year. Then he ran into Tiesto, Caneos, and eagerly came back to run 1-2 out of that race. He was kind of the wise guy horse going into that maiden race last time when Mott's first, the Tiesto, just exploded.
Took a lot of money.
Yeah, he took a lot of money. And now the blinkers go on. He gets that little bit of a break, 2 months and change. I think this horse is live today.
He could be. He disappointed last time. I expected better out of him. He just had no finish. I don't know why. Now he's coming off a bit of a layoff with the blinkers. We'll see if that helps. I mean, I made This I'll Defend the favorite kind of just on a guess because I don't know how they're going to bet this race. He's got a speed figure that says if he can transfer that to a route distance, he's going to be tough. And also, he's got speed in a race where some of these others are kind of plodding types. He can probably just sit off just in time for one and get a pretty good trip. So we'll see how that works out.
And kid Julio Correa to board the 5-pound bug. He did a good job getting Shalako on the other day. That was a really good ride. Yeah, I think we'll hear from him this winter. Fun 3rd race. Last one on the old inner turf course is race number 3. The first of 2 stakes races on the Sunday card goes as race 4. The Garland of Roses, 6 furlongs for the fillies and mares. A couple of scratches in here. And we'll take a look at the 3 horses they're going to take the bulk of the money. And we'll go to the rail first. Pause for the Cause. Here she is beating fellow New York breds on Empire Showcase Day at Belmont Park in the Iroquois.
When I first looked at this race, I said to myself, I'm going to try to beat Pause for the Cause. And I watched her last couple of races again. I know she was kind of with the track 2 back, and last time out the pace was in her favor. She's really run now in 2 races in a row, and she had been a little bit more inconsistent prior to that, and it seems like she's just in really good form right now for Kieran McLaughlin. We're going to look at the pace projector after this. It's a concern that she's got the rail draw with other speed in this race, but she's not some need-the-lead type of horse. She can sit if she has to, and I just thought she was better than these.
Yeah, and you could obviously take out the 2 and 8 from that pace projector, but it doesn't really change much.
No, 3 horses up front, they're all speeds.
Spoke to Kieran on HRRN on Friday about his horses Saturday. Of course, I asked him about this. You're right. His concern for the rail draw. He would have rather have been outside. True Timber, who he wanted outside, ran very well to be third yesterday behind the 2 favorites in the Cigar Mile. He would have rather been outside. But look, she's a major player in here. She's on a 2-race win streak, and if she runs back to that last race, you got to think she's going to be ultra tough in here.
She's probably going to win. Somebody has to step up and beat her.
Yeah. Let's go right back to the replay machine. Our Circle of Love is going to break from post number 6 after the inside scratch. Joel Rosario's going to climb aboard. Here she is in the mud over Big Sandy last time out, just taking them gate to wire.
And she probably got the best post position draw because she's drawn outside of that other speed. So if she's not quite quick enough to get to the front, she can stalk outside in a good position. I mean, she's got a couple of speed figures on her record that put her in line with Pause for the Cause. It's just she's done it twice in 9 starts, and her other 7 races don't really put her in the mix here. Can she put good races back to back? I don't totally trust her, but maybe Michelle Devon's just figured her out now.
Yeah. She's listen. You and I have the 3 horses that are going to take the bulk of the money. For me, it was really hard to find anybody besides one of those 3 horses getting the money in here. Here's the third New Year's Wish for Linda Rice, and we have a stat to put up right after the replay. If you like this filly today, you're going to like this stat as well. And here she is off of a pretty long break last time. This was a March-November layoff.
Yeah, it was a short field, but you do want to note she breaks a length slowly, gets squeezed back a little bit, has to come around horses in the first quarter mile. I thought Jose Lozcano did a good job just gradually taking her up into the lead, setting a pretty moderate pace with her. The track was really dead this day, so the pace isn't quite as slow as a 48 would usually be in a 7-furlong race. But she just runs away from this field late. She comes back and seems to be in as good form as she was when she left us last winter. She loves Aqueduct. My question with New Year's Wish is she fast enough to get in front of these early? Because I think some others are a little bit faster, and the pace projector indicates that too.
Yeah, she's going to have to rate today. And I picked this horse today. She's going to have to rate today. I'm hoping those other 3 hit up front. Pause for the Cause, Angel at Warren, and Our Circle of Love. Some sort of machination of them on the front end. This is an unbelievable stat.
I found this for the first time last winter, and it kind of blew my mind. Second off a layoff, horses that won last time out, coming back in a dirt sprint. I mean, Linda Rice, if you narrow it down to Naira, the stats are just as good. She just wins with these horses. So we'll see. I mean, it's not like they're all favorites either. New Year's Wish is going to be probably the 3rd choice in this race, so we'll see.
And, I put her on top. She's going to have to rate. Yeah. Now, maybe they were able to find out that she was, that maybe that poor break last time was a blessing in disguise. I don't think Junior's going to be able to rush her up in here because I just think they'll be too far in front. They'll be just too fast for her early on. But if she can rate today, she'll be the 3rd choice of the 3 favorites, and I think she has a puncher's chance, a good chance to beat these horses. Listen, I'm not going to be cute. I'm going to use the 1, 5, and 7. I kicked myself in the butt yesterday saying I was going to move the chains in the 3rd, and my 4th pick, Tail of Mist, got the money at $40.
Yeah, that was funny. Big price on him.
I'm glad you got a kick out of it. I didn't.
No. I mean, it was funny because he was 20-1. He kind of had figures that made him. He's the kind of horse you look down at when you're done, but when the race is over and you say, well, this
how did I use this horse?
Kind of made sense.
Yep, exactly right. A fun renewal of the Garland of Roses. It goes as race number 4. We'll wrap the early pick 4 and pick 5 with more maidens in race number 5. New York bred filly variety 2-year-olds. New York Supreme and Banker's Daughter figure to take a lot of action here. Namely, New York Supreme was going to cut back a 16th of a mile, ran Too Good to Lose in her debut.
She did. She was really cranked up to win this day. I think it was just the 6.5 furlongs that got her. She was ready to win going 6. And you could see the last half furlong here. She just kind of shuts it down and allows a horse to pass her late. I also want to watch the number 12 here, Banker's Daughter, who's in 4th. She was a little bit green at the quarter pole, was lugging in a little bit. Dylan Davis had to put her behind horses. She never stops running here, and she's finishing well across the wire for a barn that's not really known for success with young horses, but I think she can step forward second time out. I kind of prefer these 2, and I'm giving the nod to Banker's Daughter because she's going to be a much better price.
Yeah, she's going to be, you would think, 3 times the price as the other filly. I took a little shot against both of them with Dancing Nikki, obviously realizing that she'd probably have to get a little bit faster, especially than the New York Supreme, who you've just taken into account improvement.
Yeah.
Natural improvement second time out is going to be tough to beat. But, you know, the speed types, especially in the 2-year-old races, they're susceptible on the front end to other pressure and to, you know, a collapse. And I just took a little shot with Dancing Nikki. Dylan Davis is going to stick with the horse you put on top, the number 9 Banker's Daughter. I get a more than capable replacement than that Joel Rosario fella. So she would benefit, though, Dancing Nikki, if they hit up front a little bit.
She would. My one question with her is, what do we make of that last race? Because I know Playtone kind of got that big fig out of nowhere, and she had a little bit of trouble in the stakes next time out, but she did regress on figures, and we saw the third place finisher Silverbank come back, and she was just terrible next time. So I'm a little bit concerned about the quality of that race, but I do respect Dancing Kiki. I think she's got a shot to hit the board at least.
What do we do with Jeremiah's first of the 3 making sense to have to make an out?
Yeah, I liked her dad, Mischief Maker, a lot. She was a stakes winner going long over the inner track. Jeremiah has great numbers with the 2-year-olds, especially over the last year. Couldn't find out a whole lot about the way this one's working, but not going to be shocked if she's a runner.
Yeah, they look like the 4 main players in here. Maybe a little Rudy with the blinkers on. The 2 Maru. We wrap the early pick 5 and pick 4 with the maidens in race number 5. Race 6, the final turf race of the year here in the Big Apple, and we were very fortunate this year, especially if you compare it to 2018. Very fortunate this year. It is December 8th, and we're still running races on the lawn. Here's one from Aqueduct, Pulsate and Kitten's Cat. Last time out, Pulsate's going to finish 3rd, Kitten's Cat 5th.
These are kind of the 2 horses to beat right back because they're coming out of a tougher spot. And it's the same level, but it's an easier race. And I thought Pulsate got a pretty good trip. He came up the inside. I know this was a race that sort of featured more of an outside flow, but he kind of just had the rail open for him and he couldn't get through there and capitalize on it. Kitten's Cat was sort of never really in the clear. He didn't have real trouble, but he had to alter course a few times, just coming on too late at the end. Of the 2, I kind of prefer Kitten's Cat because I think he does have more tactical speed than he showed last time, and he's run well here before. He's not going to be any kind of price. I just thought he was probably the most likely winner.
Yeah, he's going to be a shortish price, and he's the most likely winner. You know, I just worry about horses like him, especially down inside. If he doesn't, and I know he has more speed than he showed last time, but if he doesn't break, he just seems to run out of real estate. And like most horses that don't break, I mean, you know, I worry about that railroad with him, and I worry about a short price. But he is certainly on paper. They're the 2 horses I think to beat in here by far. We have a pace projector for this race, and speaking of breaking poorly, you're not going to want to win here because it already seems to favor, I was going to say horses, but the horse that is projected to be on a loose lead.
Yeah, we'll see how this plays out because Fortune's Fool is only going to be in front if he handles the turf, and that's a little bit of a question mark because he doesn't have a ton of turf pedigree. They're taking a shot, obviously, at the end of the turf season. But the horse that I really want to point out in this pace projector is the 2 On the Way to Neverland. I would imagine he'll be a little bit closer, and even if he's not on the lead, he'll be in a good stalking position, and he's going to get first run on some of the closers in this race. I consider putting him on top because he's got races from early in his 3-year-old season that make him tough. I mean, he's got running lines with Stubbins and Avies Flatter and Henley's Joy. He didn't even run that badly in the Transylvania. I think he is more of a sprinting type. It's just his return was okay. He's got to step forward, but I think he's dangerous for Wesley Ward. Yeah,
and like you said, it was okay. He was gone from April to October. Now you see another almost 2 months.
Yeah.
He had plenty of spots. And see, you know, Wesley Ward is not afraid to ship. He had plenty of spots to run him in. He hasn't. Yeah, I mean, I guess he can win. I kind of copped out here. First time back in the Jason Service Barn, gelding, back to the turf for Colton, Mississippi. I like the fact that he gelded him, and I'm just going to take a shot. He got that 2-month break that these service horses seem to really thrive after. And, you know, not that he's a fresh face, but he's kind of a little fresh face to this bunch, and I'm just going to try him.
Yeah, look, I'm not going to argue with Jason Service off the claim. He did have this horse once before, and he ran a race for the barn that wasn't quite good enough to make him a contender here. But look, he's putting him in a spot that seems it seems unreasonably high. And there's no claiming tag attached, which I think is noteworthy because I wouldn't imagine they'd be afraid to lose this horse for $62,500. Yeah, I gave him a long look. I thought it was a tough spot for him, but he can step forward.
Yeah. Starts the early pick 5. Is there anybody else to talk about in here?
I mean, Morning Breeze, he's been solid. He's just not really a winning type.
He's just not a winning type, yeah. I felt the same way, and he's kind of compromised with Fortune's Fool, right? He'd rather be,
I think so.
I think he'd rather have him on the front end as opposed to having a chase horse. Because listen, Fortune's Fool is the wild card in here. Like you said, he's going to be in front of these, if he handles the turf, he's going to be in front of these horses, and quite frankly, that might be enough in here today.
No, in his dirt races, if he translates them to turf, make him very tough. He's an arch, we'll see.
He's the wild card. Interesting way to start the late pick 5, race 6, final turf race of the season. Race number 7. You know, we said there's 2 stakes, and we'll talk about the Fall Highway a little later on. Tell you what, got a couple of New York Bred Stakes winners in race number 7. You got a horse in Bridlewood Cat who, if she keeps moving forward, is going to be okay. There's a nice little allowance race on there. There's a fun card here today at the Big A. If you can come on out for Toys for Tots. We're going to have a real fun day here at Aqueduct. Let's start with one of those aforementioned New York Bred Stakes winners, newly minted. She's won 4 of her 6 starts for Linda Rice. Kendrick Carmouche going to ride for the first time today. Jose Lozano's down in South Florida for the Clásico del Caribe, and there she is in that white cap laying on the rail.
I said in this race because it was her last dirt sprint, and I know they've tried going longer. I know they've tried turf. She's probably just best going sprint distances on the dirt, and they're getting back to that finally here. She's getting, I would say, a little bit of class relief, but probably not because she's facing one serious rival in this race. She faded last time. The Empire Disc Staff obviously had an incident after the wire, but she's reeled off some nice workouts since then, so I don't think she's any worse for the wear. And I just think she's going to be pretty tough in this spot because she's got the versatility in a race that does feature plenty of speed, and I prefer her to her main rival, Bridlewood Cat. Yeah,
and speaking of Bridlewood Cat, here she is breaking her maiden. Now this filly came off a March to October layoff for Jonathan Thomas, and she was really, really good this afternoon.
She was. I do want to note a couple things, though. The inside was not a bad place to be, I'll say. And she was towards the inside throughout. The pace was pretty moderate to slow, and she was just able to sprint home after not getting any pace pressure up front. This race got a huge figure. There wasn't much behind her. Rapido Gata came back to just totally combust as the 1-5 favorite with a 25 buyer. The 4th place finisher came back and I believe ran 18 buyer points slower next time in a dirt sprint. So I'm a little bit concerned about just the validity of that figure last time because it did kind of come out of nowhere. If she runs it back, she's probably going to beat newly minted. I don't think there's any doubt about that. I want to see it again. Yeah,
you want what you've seen already from a 4-time winner as opposed to a filly who kind of freaked off the layoff last time out, right? They did a lot with her too last time. The blinkers came off. They cut her back from the mile and change. The mile and 40 yards she ran at Tampa first time out. I went back to her. I liked her last time. I made some money with her last time out. I just think that, you mentioned the other speed in here. I like the fact that Joel's aboard and that she is drawn outside because he can take a look at how this thing's going to unfold and I think put her in the right spot. Quite frankly, again, they're the 2 favorites, but it was really hard for me to look past these 2 today. The 3rd horse that we both have third, the number 6, Lifetime Memory. She won first time out at Belmont Park. Christophe Clement shipped her down to Keeneland. She didn't have a great trip in the first half of that race.
Yeah.
But quite frankly, David, she didn't do much running in the stretch.
No, you would have wanted to see her do a little bit more running. It was a race that sort of held together towards the front end, but still, other horses made bigger runs than she did. She just kind of went nowhere and spun her wheels behind horses. I liked her debut. It wasn't the fastest race in the world, but she did it well. I wonder if she's ultimately going to be a better turf horse because her Dan Silver reunion she really did improve on the turf. She will get pace in this race, though. I said in the pace projector, I just wanted to illustrate that Bridlewood Cat, I mean, she's got a really fast rival outside of her in Fangirl. If Fangirl comes back and shows the type of early speed that she did on dirt last year, no one's going to be in front of her early, but we'll see if she can last the distance.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how Joel handles her and some of the other peripheral speeds in here with Bridlewood Cat. But yeah, I would just, with Lifetime Memory, if she would have done a little bit of running last time out, I would have probably put her second, but she didn't run at all.
No, because you kind of want to close her in this race. I just don't know if it's her.
Yeah, Stones in the Road's the other filly that won. She won the Franklin Square earlier this year. That was her last win, and her form has just seemed to kind of elude her. And
the amount of speed in this race, it's not going to work for her. It's definitely not going to work for Carrizo. It's probably not fast enough to even be in the top 3 early, and I think that's going to work against these speed horses.
Well, we'll see which one of the favorites, if it's David's newly minted or my Bridlewood Cat. Race 7 kicks off the late pick 4. Race number 8, I got to tell you, we got a couple of stakes. We got that fun allowance race. This is the race I'm really looking forward to the
It's
most
a fun
today.
race.
The
You
old
can make a
New
case.
York Breds going 9, right? Once around here at the Big A. At one point, I was looking at this on Friday. I have bet every one of these horses in my life.
I think Local Counts was a little tough to make. Maybe Twisted Tom's a little tough, but the other 8, they could all win this race.
Yeah, I don't disagree. Let's take a look at 3 of them. Man, how many times do you think at least 2 of these horses have faced off in their career? I mean, it's got to be in the dozens, right? Here's Storm Prophet, Dupes Point, and Daneberry back at Big Sandy on October 13th in a race that's going to be won by I Love Jackson.
When I was searching for replays, I was trying to boil it down to 2 where I could get as many horses in as possible, and you got 3 in here. Yeah, Daneberry ran well this day, but he got a great setup, setting a pretty moderate pace, going the 1 turn. Dupes Point just did what Dupes Point does. He's just coming on too late, plodding along, not really getting there, but getting a piece of it. Storm Prophet, the same thing. He's not really a winning type, but he comes along, gets a piece of it. I'm not sure either one's really helped by the stretch out to 1 1/8, so I wanted others.
It's amazing how, the New York, we talk about how great it is to own New York Breds. Dupes Point's a great example, right? Plods along.
Check
He's
Getter.
won just 2 races. Horse has won $205,000 already in his career. And yeah, he's just one of those horses that, the extra distance, the extra 16th of a mile or 1/8 of a mile you're going to get from Belmont helps, but with his running style, the second turn almost hurts him.
And there's not a ton of speed in this race outside of Daneberry and the horse that we have on top, so I'm not sure he's going to get the setup that he really needs here. We'll see. He always takes money, so I imagine he's going to be among the favorites once again.
Here's the horse we have on top. It's Control Group. Here's Bluegrass Cat Smile as well. This is back at Belmont Park as well, back on September 19th.
I thought Control Group didn't get the most comfortable trip this day. He's kind of sandwiched in between horses around the far turn. It looks like I read Ortiz was on him Jose Ortiz was on him this day. Can't totally ride him in the stretch because he kind of got shot off there. Wasn't really in a position to make a run. It almost never looks like he's even going to finish on the board, and he ends up getting second here. Bluegrass Cat Smile obviously refound his form and won this race at a huge price. He's not impossible because he gets 1 1/8 without issue. You just wonder if he can win races again because he seems to win 1 race every year and then just pick up a check again like Dupes Point. But I'm not going to be shocked by him. But I agree with you that Control Group, I like the claim by Jason Service, and he's probably going to work out a pretty good trip from the inside.
Yeah, and that was it. And I think the biggest thing as well with Control Group is the 2 turns. This is a horse who, and more often than not, the horses that have speed and are forwardly placed, they enjoy the second turn. The horses that don't have any speed, they're a little compromised by the second turn. I think he's one that really fits that bill. He's just a better horse around 2 turns.
I've seen you and Andy debate this quite a bit, and I actually really agree with you on this one, that he's just a 2-turn horse, and the reason is you get slower paces in 2-turn races, and he needs to just dole out those 24,
just
48,
throw the 12s at you. Just throw the 12s at you.
That really works for this horse, and I think he's going to get to do that today, as long as Eric Kunsell is aggressive, because he should be. His main speed rival, Daneberry, is drawn outside, and I think that's a real disadvantage for Daneberry.
Yeah, and when these horses get into Jason Service's care, they usually find more speed as well. I think Eric really has to just be aggressive from the inside draw, get in front, and then when you establish over another main speed in a horse like Daneberry, you're not only using your best asset, but you're taking his out of his hand.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I think he needs to do here. Calculated Risker. Man, talk about a horse that's danced plenty of dances and gets checks, right? He's done it too. A lot of races up at Finger Lakes. Ray Handel shipped him around. He's earned over $250,000. You have him in the mix. He's going to be a big price in here. And for a horse that wins races, he's 8 for 27, unlike Dupes Point, who doesn't seem to win. This horse actually wins races. You're going to get a square price on him today.
That's the thing with him. You look at his speed figures and his overall form, and he looks maybe a little bit slower than a lot of the others in this race, but as you said, he wins, and he likes 1 1/8. That this is just the right distance for him. Hard to love the post position, but if he can work out some kind of trip under Manny Franco, I'm not going to be shocked if he gets a piece of this.
I'm looking forward to the day when I hit a ticket with Storm Prophet. I don't know if today is going to be that day. 3 wins, 12 seconds in his debut. If anybody asks me after talking horses today, when I walk out of here, what they should do today, I'm going to tell them to bet the place on Storm Prophet. That's probably the best bet of the afternoon. Fun race. Really, really looking forward to this race. Race number 8 for the hard-knocking New York Breds. Fall Highway. We're going to run the Fall Highway today.
Seems very
going
likely.
to happen. Dave Grenning had a great line. The last of the leftovers from Thanksgiving is the Fall Highway, especially in my house. They're long gone. Nicodemus came out. Were you as surprised as I was that he came out?
Yes,
Stunned.
yeah, I mean, I guess they wanted to run a mile yesterday. It was a really tough spot, and it turned out to be way too tough, but maybe he just needed a race, and they were getting a race back.
So he'll scratch. We go down to a field of 6 here. Go back to Belmont Park, go back to the Belmont Stakes Racing Festival, Strike Power and Recruiting Ready. Mixing it up on Belmont Stakes Friday.
I mean, they basically ran identical races here. I mean, Strike Power's on the rails, so maybe that helped him a little bit because you wanted to be inside this day. But they both ran really well. They just got nailed by a good horse in Catalina Cruiser. I mean, I find it difficult to separate these two horses based on their dirt sprint form. I know Recruiting Ready has come back in subsequent starts and reeled off some triple-digit buyer speed figures of Churchill Downs against probably slightly easier fields than this. But he's going to be a much shorter price than Strike Power, and I think they're both legitimate contenders in this race, and I kind of prefer Strike Power at a better price.
Yeah, my problem with Strike Power, and you're going to get a better price. My problem with him is, you know, he was helped by that bias that afternoon at the Belmont Stakes Racing Festival. And then, you know, look, I know he's not going to keep, at this point in his career, Imperial Hint and Matoli are way out of his league. And again, he was involved in a pace duel with Matoli on a day when the inside was not good at Saratoga. Where's the form gone? Where is it gone?
I mean,
I'm worried about the fact that he's just not finishing up.
I think if you take out his 2 turf races, his form looks a lot more consistent because you can forgive the race 2 back in the Vanderbilt, where, you know, as you said, behind the best sprinters in the country, he wasn't going to be competitive in that race. And his other races, I mean, he's run plenty of fast sprints. And the other thing is, on the redraw of this race, this time he's drawn outside of Recruiting Ready. And Recruiting Ready is not always the quickest horse out of the gate, and Strike Power is. So I could see him being in front of that horse early.
Oh, I would not be surprised if he got in front of him today. I wouldn't, and maybe that is enough. Yeah, Happy Farm is the horse. I think Happy Farm is the wild card. We see Jason Service claim these horses and run them through the claiming ranks, the allowance ranks. You know, he's done everything with this horse. He's run this horse in a couple of claiming races. He's run this horse in a starter allowance race. He's on a 3-race win streak. He gets in with 125 pounds. You know, it is the fall highway. He's getting 3 pounds from Strike Power. He's getting 7 pounds from Recruiting Ready. I wonder if he's the horse I want as the alternative to the favorites in here, just because he should be the first one to come calling on the 2 favorites. And when Jason Service gets these horses pointed in the right direction in his care, they're dangerous at middling prices like this in these races.
Yeah, I think one of the 2 we have that we both have on top are probably going to win this race. I'm not a big fan of Happy Farm. I mean, I'm not going to put anything past Jason Service, but he's gotten some, I mean, dream setups in his recent races.
I think he's going to get another one in here.
He might. Got to step forward.
Yeah, Wonderful Light, I guess, is the other player in here. He'd kind of have to step up his game, though, too, right?
We always wanted him to be a good horse. He's just probably not what he once was. But
Yeah.
it's not the toughest race in the world. It seems like every time we draw this race, again, we lose a few players. I like Stan the Man, and he's not back for whatever reason. So.
Right. Yeah. And, you know, like you said, now it's a little bit different with Recruiting Ready drawn inside of Strike Power. There's probably there's a better chance of getting them to hit up front now.
I think it changes the race a little bit.
Yeah, I don't disagree. An interesting renewal. We're finally going to run the Grade 3 Fall High Weight Race 10. We wrap it with the maidens. It was easy for you to bunch 3 in here. They weren't a length apart last time out. Here's Cruising Strong, Welsh Gold, and High School Crush. They're all going to kind of hit the line together back on November 17th here at Aqueduct.
This race was just kind of an eyesore for me. I mean, I feel like Cruising Strong in particular was supposed to win this race. Maybe you could say Javier was a little bit too overconfident because he kept her in behind horses for a long time and then peeled out, but she's supposed to just run by these because she was traveling so well on the turn, and she just doesn't get there. High School Crush, I mean, she got a good trip battling between horses and just doesn't go on with it. Maybe Welsh Gold is the one you want because she'll be the biggest price of these, but she faded at the end that day. I just wanted new faces.
All right, and you went to the Hall of Famer, my main man, right or wrong, Nick Zito, the 2, Mebs Webb.
This feels like a horse to me that once you really dig into her form, she makes a lot of sense in this race, and she might get sort of unjustly ignored because she's had more chances than the rest. Her first 2 races just in over her head against subsequent stakes winners, Critical Value and Naked Avenger. They dropped her in for the tag on the dirt one time too back, and I didn't send the replay because you'd have to watch the whole race to appreciate how much trouble this horse had, but she was squeezed out at the start, kind of stumbled, and looked like she even clipped heels at one point, was out the back of the pack. It was really not John Velasquez's fault. He was trying to move her up, but she was just surrounded by horses, in trouble the entire way. Really, even in the stretch, she had to alter course multiple times, could never find a clear path. There's no doubt she would have been second that day with a clean trip, and she's better than it seems, I think.
Okay. She's going to be a big, listen, she's going to be a big price. I'm not going to, listen, there's a dozen horses in this race. I'm not going to argue, pretty much would not argue any of them, because this is one of those races that you feel like is one of those ticket busters where something insane can happen in the last race, right? I went to a different fresh face, if you will, Cazilda's 40 Tails, who's dropping back in. She was in for a tag against Open Company at Gulfstream, came up here for Bob Clasaris last time. She finished behind New York Supreme, who we'll see earlier on the card. She gets Lasix for the first time. Declan Carroll's doing a good job. He's stacked outside. We'll see if he can just see how this unfolds and make one run on them with this fresh face.
I've got no problem with her. I thought her Gulfstream races were fine, and last time she was just facing better horses that we're going to see in the race earlier today, and it looked like she was going to just fall apart in the turn, but she actually stayed on pretty well in the stretch and earned a respectable speed figure, so I think she makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, she gets some post relief as well, going from the inside draw all the way to the outside. You know, the Cruising Strong, High School Crush, Welsh Gold, they can all win.
Yeah,
wouldn't surprise you, but they're going to be, none of them are going to be higher than 7-2. So you probably want to find a little bit of a fresh face in here. We've each tried a different one, but certainly on my late pick 4 and pick 5 tickets, there will be multiple numbers, my friend. You've made me add another one in the 2 now, Mebs Webb, because I am not going to let her beat me as well. Turf done today.
End of the turf season.
Any year we can have horses like Annals of Time, Bricks and Mortar, and Sadler's Joy win major turf stakes on the circuit. Joy, yeah.
No,
I'm happy.
It's been a great year, a lot of great racing. Kept a lot of races on the turf, lost a few as always, but no, the end of the season was great.
Yeah, and everybody done, you know, we talk about it all the time, but Glenn and Brian and the whole crew do a great job keeping these turf courses. They got 6 turf courses they got to take care of now here, 2 at each track, and they do an amazing job. And yep, turf will be back in April. You know what? Turf will be back before you know it, David.
It will. Winter goes quickly.
It does. Winter is coming, but it goes quickly. Great job today. You have a job. You have to get over to NYRABets.com to get a brand new account. 100% deposit match up to $200. Use the promo code. I mean, it's kind of simple. Big A. Get over to NYRABets.com today. Empire 6 gave it away yesterday. A lot of tickets. Always like to see that. Get that money back into the pools. Next mandatory payout day is New Year's Eve. So before you go out and celebrate the end of 2019, get ready for 2020. Come on out. Empire 6 mandatory giveaway that day. 20-cent bet. Remember, to take the whole pool down, you have to be a unique ticket. $25 risk-free Sundays over at Turf Paradise. Race number 3 now. $25 to win on any horse in race 3. If you lose, NYRABets is going to give you your money back. Don't forget, you have to play it app only. That's over at Turf Paradise in race number 3. And finally, United States Marine Corps, thank you for your service. Donate new and unwrapped toys. Toys for Tots Drive. It's been, I can't even, 20 years minimum, probably even longer when I was a kid. And I'd always like to drop my toy down into the bin. My mom and dad would let me drop the toy into the bin. Now I'll lay a few bucks on them. They take cash as well. If you're coming out today, bring a new and unwrapped toy. For the kids, Toys for Tots, the United States Marine Corps. Enjoy the day, my friend.
You too.
All right, good luck today.
Races today.
I'll be calling the last 3, 8, 9, and 10. Nice. This afternoon, so I'll be up in the booth all day. Before I get to the booth, though, what a job yesterday. He did fantastic yesterday. A tremendous call of the cigar. I got to tell you, my 2 favorite Johnny I calls happened this year. The Gotham with Haikal was tremendous, but I think yesterday's usurped that one in the cigar. Johnny I, John Embrial, up next with the scratches and changes. Thanks for joining us on Talking Horses. I'll be with you all day prattling. Scratches and changes come up in just a moment. Good luck today here at Aqueduct.